I'm here today with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, WWE Hall of Famer. So welcome to Wrestling Roundup.
Well, thank you very much, brother. But you know, the first thing Hacksaw Duggan has to do is give a big ho! Kind of fires me up, you know. I think we panicked everybody in the hotel, but we're having a good time.
Wouldn't be an interview if you didn't start off like that. We saw on Legends House that you were on that you were very buddy with Roddy Piper. Have you kept up with him after the show?
Yeah, I sure did. I didn't really know Piper very well and before Legend House. And when we got there, they said, well, you have to have a roommate. And I'm like, well, I haven't had a roommate since college, you know. And they said, and you're rooming with Piper. So the first 2 days, we just kind of eyeballed each other, you know. But then we hit it off and became good friends. And in the States, they call it the bromance, that we hit it off so well. And, of course, then on the other hand, me and Tony Atlas didn't get along quite so well.
That was going to be my next question. Do you still not in talking terms with Tony, or?
Well, Tony and I have known Tony for probably 25, almost 30 years, and we never really got along in those years, you know. But we were always in a dressing room situation, and all of a sudden they were stuck in a house together for 5 weeks, and tension just really built. And of course, Tony, I always say, you know, he can have. I understand him having trouble with me and Piper because we're kind of a pain in the butt too. But to have trouble with Hillbilly Jim, it's like amazing because Hillbilly's the easiest going guy in the world, and Tony had trouble with him. So you know, but it kind of added to the show. He was the fly in the ointment. So you know, if it wasn't for Tony, it would have been almost too smooth of a show.
Are we going to see a season 2? Have you heard anything?
They're talking about a season 2, but I think they're trying to get eight different guys together. Actually, I just talked to Piper a couple nights ago. He's pushing to have our own show. You know, he said we can do well with the other 6 guys, and it because you know, I think they were expecting to be more of a drama type show, Legend House, and with me and Piper, it almost became a comedy. You know, we had so much fun with it. So WWE is talking about just giving us our own little 4-man camera crew and let us wander around town and have fun.
So it sounds like a great show.
Yeah, it would be a good show. Yeah, I don't want to be a Duggan Piper show or the Piper Duggan show.
So do you still watch the current day product?
I don't watch too much wrestling nowadays. I always joke. I said that'd be like a butcher watching him cut meat on his day off. You know, after 35 years, when I'm at home, I don't like to watch too much wrestling, but I keep an eye on it a little bit.
Okay. You had a small little one-day stint with Rusev.
Right. Yeah, they bring me back and forth once in a while. The Rusev deal, I thought they were going to do more with it, and that's one of the reasons I went up there to do it because I figured we'd follow it up, and they didn't. So you know, you never really know which direction they're going to go with it. Hopefully, you know, down the road, because Rusev broke my 2x4 over his knee. You know, and I said it broke well over your knee, kid. Let's see how it breaks over your head, tough guy. Ho! Oh, sorry, brother. I'm starting to fire up now.
So if they invited you back to do another one with Rusev, you'd go back?
I think so. You know, you never say 100%. That would have to definitely have a different storyline than, let's say, this last one, where you know, they actually made me look kind of bad. I thought, you know. So if I was at least able to, better to get beat up than run, you know. And of course, they had me jump out of the ring, which was not my character. But it's always good to be on TV with the WWE. Just that exposure on their television worldwide just helps you in so many other areas.
So you didn't watch too much of it, but have you seen any superstars that you've seen that have stood out to you?
Yeah, of course, Roman Reigns is doing great. Of course, he has an injury problem. Daniel Bryan, I really like Daniel. You know, with a yes reminds me of a ho. You know, so I like Daniel. But again, a lot of problems with injury. But I think a guy, an up and coming star who's been there for a little while though, is Dolph Ziggler. I could see Dolph one day being world champion. You know, he's a good-looking, handsome guy, a lot of white hair, a lot of white teeth. You know, he's got the good body. He's the type look that they like for their marquee person. They want. He's got the look to be the champion.
So you've been doing a lot of hoes and talking about your 2x4. Could you explain exactly where those came from?
Well, the hole, I don't know. I always joke. I said one time I got this huge splinter in my thumb, and I went, oh. No, but the hole just kind of, you know, back in the mid South, the Universal Wrestling days, I'm very vocal in the ring anyway. And I was just yelling, and the people started yelling back at me, so we evolved into the whole. Now, the 2x4, actually, my mentor was Bruiser Brody, who was tragically stabbed to death in Puerto Rico. But Brody used to tell me, he says, Duggan, if you carry something into the ring, carry something you can use. Forget the feathered boas and sequin robes. And I'm like, well, here's a piece of wood. And I came out yelling and screaming and waving that 2x4, and the crowd scattered. So I got back and forth to the ring without a problem and been carrying it ever since. And, it kind of goes good with the character. Nothing fancy, Dan, about Hacksaw Duggan. Just a 2x4 and the flag of the United States of America. Here I go again, guys. Ho!
Okay, so you got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. How did that feel?
That was great. Of course, anytime you're acknowledged by your peers is really something, and to be remembered long after I'm gone, it'll be cool. They're still debating if they're going to have a stationary Hall of Fame in Stamford, Connecticut, where the WWE offices are, or it may be a mobile one that travels with Monday Night Raw. But no matter what it is, it's great to be part of it. And of course, my family was able to come. I have two daughters, and it'll be nice to know down the road my grandkids will be able to go back and see some of the old Hacksaw stuff.
Taking a deviation from wrestling, I noticed you were on a movie called Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
Right, yes. Pro wrestlers versus zombies. A lot of folks, I did a lot of PR for the movie, and people say, well, how would you describe the movie? I said, the title pretty much covers it. It's Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies. It's not Gone with the Wind, But it was a lot of fun. Roddy Piper, of course, is the main star in it. Kurt Angle was in it. Matt Hardy, some TNA girls. They had a bodybuilder guy, a couple of Penthouse pets. It was pretty much just a blood fest. But it was fun to do, and I really thought I nailed my part. I played Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I said, I don't think anybody else could play that part that well. So I'd like to thank the Academy.
How'd that role come about? You just get contacted?
Yeah, they just contacted me and asked me if I was available, and it was a 2-week shoot. It was a short movie, and they crammed a lot in. Of course, I got my airplane ticket, and I was only there for 7 days, so I was like, uh-oh, I don't make it to the end of the movie. And of course, the zombies got me, and then another wrestler, the zombies were chasing us, and he got to the door and he locked the door on me. I'm like, Shane, open the door, and the zombies attacked, and I got 4 or 5 of the zombies with my 2x4, and finally all did the hog pile on me. But I did the deal because I was able to choreograph the stunt, so they all hog pile, and I did the old and pushed everybody off me and almost made it to the door, and they pulled me back down and zombitized me.
Uh, would you be willing to go back and do some other movie roles?
Oh, sure, yeah. I've done some small movies. I just recently did a thing called The Axeman of Henderson County. Seems like I do a lot of horror. I don't know why, but it's fun to do. And of course, The Axeman, I played the mayor, which was something different than playing Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which was fun. But I realized I have no big, huge movie career. I enjoy doing a few cameos, so it's an experience and fun to do.
Okay. We've seen from this interview, are you any different to Hacksaw in real life at all?
No, Hacksaw's in here with me, brother. I get a couple whiskeys, he gets me in trouble all the darn time, I tell you. But I've learned to kind of keep him in check, And most good characters in the WWE or WWF in the day are just an extension of most guys' personalities. I mean, Junkyard Dog was another one bites the dust. And of course, Macho Man, that wasn't really an extension. That was Macho Man. That's the way he was. He was always wound real tight. My very good friend Jake the Snake Roberts, he's a snake.
So you've talked a little about Jake the Snake. Is there any other one sort of backstage that you felt you were traveling around a lot with and grew great friends with?
Yeah, well, Jake, of course, he was a very good friend. He was the head usher in my wedding 25 years ago, and he struggled very hard with drugs, and now that he's DDP was actually able to help dry him out and probably saved his life. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, I always joke. I said, Ted DiBiase may be the greatest technical wrestler in the sport, but he can't fight a lick, And of course, Ted actually taught me a lot. But another good friend was Brian Knobs of the Nasty Boys. So I had a different collection of guys And that's a big misconception. People say, well, you guys are all good friends, aren't you? I said, yeah, we all compete for the same money. So, yeah, we're real good friends. It's a very competitive business. So, like most professions, you have a few friends, a lot of acquaintances, and a couple of enemies.
Who are a couple of those enemies?
Matt Bourne, actually, he played Doink the Clown. He was the original Doink. And Matt and I had a lot of history, but he's dead now.
So that counts as a win for you?
No, no, no. But there's some jokes, but I, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So do you have any regrets throughout your career?
Yeah, I have a few regrets. Of course, the infamous arrest with the Iron Sheik years ago. But overall, it's been a good business for me. That's actually why I wrote the book Hacksaw, the Jim Duggan story. I said, what a catchy title, huh? Hacksaw, the Jim Duggan story. But when the Triumph Books contacted me about doing the book, I gave them two or three different titles. I was like, the cycle of the ring, tough life, tough guy. They said, we'll stick with Hacksaw, the Jim Duggan story. But it's a positive look at pro wrestling. I've been with my wife over 30 years, married 25. I've never had to go to rehab for booze or drugs, never had a felony arrest. I have two daughters that are in college. I'm very active in the community. I talk with the schools. I ride with the police. We're not all Scott Hall. There's a lot of guys that are successful in our business. Tito Santana, Roddy Piper. There's people that are successful, but folks like to hear about the train wrecks.
So, is there anything that you're doing soon? Any upcoming events you'd like to promote or anything?
Well, of course, Armageddon coming up, right? Yes, yeah, we're looking forward to Armageddon. This is my first trip here to New Zealand. I've been to Australia 4 times, but my first trip to New Zealand, and I've been having a great time here. Brought my wife with me. So tonight we're going to have dinner at the Sky Tower. She's going to go walk on the bridge. I'm going to be on the bottom cheering her on. But we're looking forward to going to the island. What you call me? No, yeah, so we're going to go have, just wish I had more time to see more of the country. But, back in the WWF days, all you would see was the airport, the hotel, and the arena, and you'd be gone the next day. So at least this is nice that we're getting to see a little bit of New Zealand.
So you've seen a bit of New Zealand, you've seen a bit of Australia. I don't know if you know there's a little rivalry between the countries. Just between me and you, is New Zealand better?
Well, I'm here in New Zealand, brother. What do you think? Actually, it's nice. We're spending more time here in New Zealand, in both countries. Folks have gone out of their way to be friendly. I mean, last night we were having dinner down on the wharf, and folks come up, hey, Hacksaw Duggan, and welcome to New Zealand. And even the folks that don't recognize me, a lot different than the States. We're like, get out of the way.
So you're going to be wrestling on Sunday, I believe, at Armageddon.
Right, yeah, we got to be wrestling.
So I'm guessing you're going to be training with the. Have you been to the New Zealand guys yet, or?
No, haven't met any of the New Zealand guys, and of course that's a big misconception. Another one that folks have about wrestling, that we get together and we rehearse everything. At this stage, I'll show up maybe 10 minutes before the match and meet the guys, and usually, hopefully, they're professional. But I always joke, I said the kids I all wrestle nowadays are 6'5", 300 pounds, and 25 years old. They're like, are we on TV, Mr. Duggan? I'm like, I hope not, kid. Where's my 2x4?
So we're going to see the 2x4 broken over someone's head?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know about somebody's head, but it'll be good to have the board out there. That's kind of my trademark. I used to travel, of course, with Jake, and I'd walk into the arena. I said, can somebody find me a piece of wood, and find him a 10-foot python? It's always easy to find a piece of lumber anywhere. But the young kids come up and they go, here's your piece of wood, Mr. Duggan. I'm like, no, I need a right-handed piece. They're like, oh, this is all we got.
So I'm guessing you have no idea who you're fighting, or?
No, I don't have any idea. No, makes no difference. I'll stomp on down to the ring and I'll do what Hacksaw Duggan does best: beat people up. Tough guy. Give me a hoe, young lady. Ho! You got to work on that hoe, kid.
So you wrestled in Melbourne. Was that a great experience?
Yeah, it was. I've been to Australia, like I said, 3 other times before this trip, and it was fun. I still like getting in the ring. Of course, at this stage of my career, I'm pretty limited what I can do in the ring. And so I need a young guy to work around me, but we can, and that's why the WWE brings me back once in a while. So I work with the young kids and show them it's more than just taking falls and bumps and flipping around. You got to tell the story. You got to interact with the people, and hopefully they'll give me a nice young guy to work with here in New Zealand, and we'll put on a good show for the folks. And I find that most folks that are critical of wrestling have never actually been to the show. I tell the folks out there that haven't been, come with an open mind. And 99% of the time you're going to say, hey, that was a great night out. You cheer the good guys, you boo the bad guys. It's a fun night. Or you go sit in a movie for 3 hours just looking at the movie. If you haven't been to a wrestling show, check it out, tough guy.
Okay. So, yep, that's about all the time we got for. So it's been great talking to you.
Well, thank you, young guy. And you know what you got to do before we go, brother? Let's do one together. Let's go. Ho!
Okay, well, thanks for the interview.
Well, my pleasure,
See if
brother.
I can-
Thanks for having us on.